Hello viewers, welcome to another episode of the Candy Talk here on Herman Manyora's YouTube channel. My name is Evan Sokinyi. Of course, I'm always glad to have you on board. We are very thankful for your audience, especially for Kenya's most candid conversation here on Herman Manyora's YouTube channel, where we tackle issues as they happen and bring you up to date with comprehensive analysis of the same. Of course, I'm always joined by Professor Herman Manyora here, who will actually help me understand some of these things that are taking place within the country. Prof, how are you?
Wonderful.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest and, of course, the most candid conversation.
Thank you.
Here we are. We've seen the opposition moving around, and they talked of the government having deployed a number of special units of officers who are actually supposed to be managing them accordingly, or rather dealing with the protests. We've got the anti-riot police who are supposed to be dealing with this per se, and the other time we actually witnessed that in Lolongo, when a number of special unit of police, or rather I don't know whether to call them police or security personnel, but then they were seen there even after the end of the demos there, and then later on the number of deaths which were actually reported after the police officers, the normal police officers left that place. I wonder whether this trend of having these special units of police officers will cease now that the president came on board the other day when he came into power, and of course dismantled that special unit within there, saying that there will be no more killings in the country. But here we are. Are we going back to where we were during those days, with all these sorts of manner of units being used by perhaps the government to conduct some of these things which are regarded unlawful?
I agreed with President Ruto when he came to power that our history with special police units has not been very beautiful. We talk about Kega and all this kind of thing. They committed atrocities.
Okay.
And I think, like the president had promised us, and indeed he moved to dismantle those, to disband them. So it will indeed be very sad if there can be a resurgence of the same police specialized units, and the first time we see them, we see 4 or so deaths immediately. That will be very sad for this country. Yeah.
And what do you think is happening with the president? Because definitely he made that statement, and Kenyans expected him to live up to his statements that particular day. But of course, hardly a year down the line, and we are also now witnessing what is taking place in the country.
You see, we are not yet sure that was a special squad. You know, we are not yet sure. But even if it is a special squad, and circumstances can make people change their mind.
Okay.
Yeah, so, except it will be unfortunate. Yeah. Very unfortunate.
You're talking of circumstances making people change their mind.
I'm saying it may be circumstances. Today you promise this, but circumstances compel you to think otherwise. To do what you said you are not going. He won't be the first person.
I was actually having some conversation with a number of friends, and they were saying that when the former President Moi came into power, it was actually a very good one. But then circumstances made him change. And,
people say the coup of 1982
the coup of 1982
toughened him. And
made him tough and turned him into, quote-unquote, a dictator kind of. Do you think perhaps this could be what is happening to our current president?
You know, politicians are like chameleons. They keep changing colors.
Okay. Well, let's wait and see how things will unfold, but we're here to stay. The first time a conversation, and so I think it was last year, about the lifting of the presidential term limit, that the one that was brought up by the member of parliament, whose name I think even right now a number of Kenyans have even perhaps forgotten, for that matter. But then the conversation came on board, and then the president was very quick in defending himself and distancing himself from such kind of sentiments. What really do you think is the communication here? Because we're seeing a situation whereby some information comes on board, and then the president distances himself quite fast with that, and then portrays himself as now the good one here. Recently, there was that issue to do with the SRC purporting to want to increase the salaries of government officials, and the news was everywhere. Then before we had a candid conversation on the same, the president came again and said, no, I'm not for that. Is this sincere, or perhaps
politicians are like that?
These people are just playing
politicians stage manage something, then they come as saviors. They make something happen, then they come as magnanimous to save us. And it works all the time, many times. But you see, you cannot be convincing a mind like mine. You'll have to look for small boys to convince, because there's no way SRC can come up with figures without having talked to the head of the public service, at the very least. And there's no way Felix Kosgei will give them the go-ahead without whispering it to the president.
Let's get things straight and let's be factual, President. For heaven's sake, the SRC is an independent.
How independent?
That does not actually play to the whims of anybody at the end of the day. So perhaps, do you then...
The SRC does not have money to pay.
If I say
the money to pay comes from government, supposing you get it wrong. It's government which is supposed to pay that. If you say you are giving between 7%, 15%, whatever it is, and if government doesn't have money, so you can even see the timing. It is with effect from July. How does SRC know the government has the capacity to pay? It will have to consult the same government.
Okay.
And the government is, all these independent institutions and organs somehow come under the umbrella of states, and that's the president is head of state and head of government. So you cannot purport to have the power to give civil servants, public servants, a pay rise, and not consult the government which is supposed to pay. Where do you have your money to pay? So, but politicians behave like that all the time. I'm not surprised to come out as if you are very magnanimous. Because if you told SRC behind the scenes to attack you, you won't get bonga points. So you let them say it, then you come and say no. And that no also is wrong, because then you are interfering with their independence.
Definitely. Because I was like, surely it's not the
money. And they are not giving you, William Samoei Ruto, that money.
They're giving the office.
That increment is not for Rigathi Gachagua. That is for the office of the president, which you can vacate tomorrow. Who tells you the man coming after you in 2027 doesn't want that money? And any new increment will have to be based on the base. So if you are saying 10% increment of an existing salary, okay? So if there is going to be an increment in 2027, it will be based on what is now a new salary now. 15% of your salary today creates a base that will be used to calculate the percentage in 2028. Who tells you the man who will be president will not want? Assuming you won't be the president.
So you're saying that...
So it's not for you, it's for the office.
So you're saying that...
You let it come on your payslip and donate it.
Okay.
Yes.
So you think that perhaps the SRC can work and increase the salaries of civil servants in this country, and perhaps even the state officers, without having to consult, or rather, without the president consenting to anything?
The president doesn't have to consent, but they will have to know, you know, the way governments work.
No.
There are certain things you can't do without consulting the president. Yeah.
So therefore,
and even the president himself, there are certain things he cannot do without consulting certain quarters.
Just on that, Prof. Now my question is this: do you then think that perhaps the president was wrong the other day when he told us that I've just heard from, I've just received information that the SRC wants to increase?
He was not wrong.
But so my question is this: was he surprised, or he was aware?
No, of course. This is politics. He was playing politics.
So nobody can convince you that the president was not aware?
How would he not be aware? Then Felix Kosgei would not be working. He should be sacked.
So he was aware of this?
Of course. How will SRC talk about increasing public servants? There is even the security aspect of it.
So even before making the statement, they already informed you?
These things even have a security angle to them. Supposing, let's say the military earns so much, and their equivalent in the public service get more than them, or the police getting more than the military, and vice versa, all these kind of things. So the stabilizing aspect of it. In other words, there must be some clearing house. That clearing house is the head of the public service. And the head of the public service is always having breakfast with the president. So he will have to inform him.
So he was aware.
Because increase of salary is even a political tool. Sidio, you are seeing people are agitated, people are saying cost of living, the new levies 1.5%, alafu naambia wacha tuwatupie 7%, which is greater than 1.5%. So kama tunaelewana na? So these are also political moves. But for the president to say he didn't know is normal, so that he can come up magnanimous.
Let's get into his...
What the president should have done, if it was like in Botswana, where the president came out sometimes back and said, there will be no increase to the salary of members of parliament over my dead body. I better lose the presidency, but you will not get. That's different. But the people whom we don't want to get are going to get. So the 2, 3 of you, if you don't get, what difference does it make?
Because that statement by the SRC provided some very good political fodder for the government, of course. I also saw the deputy president wade into the conversation and said that all those government employees who do not actually, who insist that their salaries must be increased, should actually leave. So do you then think that despite the fact that the president and the deputy president having been made aware of all these things prior to, just deliberately decided to play politics and decided to now come up with this kind of statements? And by the way, did it work in their favor or not? Does it now portray the president as one who thinks about the people and not himself?
It had no impact. Because, you know what? All these things are coming at a time when the country is preoccupied with only one thing. Unga. Price of food. Anything else are side shows. Side shows. People just want to hear the price of unga has gone down. Anything else doesn't matter to the people of Kenya. So the president will go around, do all these things, but finally will come down to the main issue, which is the cost of living, specifically the price of the staple food, which is maize flour.
Are you therefore trying to say that perhaps the president was insincere in his arguments?
I'm not saying he was not sincere. I have not said that. I'm just saying this is politics. The president is a politician. Yeah. He will do this thing the way politicians do it.
Do you play politics?
But now, of course, the people who should consume it are there. The people who can't see it is us, and we understand it. Yeah. And there's no problem with that. I find it just okay for me.
Okay.
It works well with me.
And definitely, perhaps the communication side is working quite well.
Yeah, what governments, and not just Kenyan government, many governments across the world, fail to communicate well. They think you can just talk. No, message is packaged by experts. And the timing and everything and the messaging, you're reading the situation. When people are focusing on maize flour and unga like this, and you come with any, they don't listen to what you are saying. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So you think that perhaps the government should up its game in terms of communication and all that?
Yes, because look at Uhuru Kenyatta. Uhuru Kenyatta did so much. He said he did what Kibaki, Moi, his father, and the colonial administration combined didn't do. In many aspects, that's correct. The roads, the kilometers of roads that Uhuru Kenyatta built, from colonial time to Kibaki, we never built them. And he did them. The things he did for this country were so many and so wonderful. But he never communicated them. And that's why people were very easy to buy the propaganda that he was the problem. Yeah.
I mean, well and good. Let's wait and see what will actually happen with all these manner of communications and whether the president perhaps may be sincere. Perhaps he is sincere in his own. He does not want that increment. Or perhaps there could be some sort of truth that he was not aware before that kind of statement was made.
It is still possible. It is still possible, and that will point to a dysfunctional government.
Here we are.
Because there are certain things you don't just wake up and do. SRC will have to consult the treasury. They will like, hey, my friend, where is the money? It's not your money. You have to be very serious consultations.
That is good about the president. We're waiting to see whether things will fall into place definitely here. But then finally, as we wind up this show, Prof, I haven't seen you congratulate the wife of former IBC chairperson, Chebukati. She's the current chairperson of A commission for revenue allocation.
You know, this country has one major problem. This country, especially its leadership, does not know that governments across the world survive by being mindful of the public opinion, of the feelings of citizens. And feelings are very delicate. Feelings are not things you can put on a scale and weigh, or take a ruler and a tape measure, and measure the length of the feelings, the perceptions. That's why governments are extremely cautious. And that's why a president would go out of his way to do everything if his approval rating goes down by a mere 5 points. Because you survive in the White House, in the State House, in a palace, in 10 Downing Street, UK, at the pleasure of the electorate. The displeasure of the electorate can spell doom to any sitting government. That's why they take the feelings and perceptions and opinions of the people very strongly. It will be very reckless in a country such as ours, in times such as this, to take Chebukati's wife and make her chairman of a commission. It is extremely reckless, it is heartless, it is thoughtless, it is, I don't have the adjectives.
This is a competent individual.
No, it's not about, I'm told you,
in the
you know, you are not listening what I said. Perceptions are not about reality, and you can't measure them on a scale. Public opinion is not something you can take a tape measure. Why are people feeling that this, how much of this? It is just that you use your common sense and say, half of this country believes this election was stolen. That half believes Chebukati has something to do with messing the elections. And this half is hurting. And when half is hurting, the entire country is hurting. When half of your body is hurting, the entire body is hurting. And therefore, it will be very insensitive from where I stand to take Chebukati's wife and give her a job like that. You just let her stay. There are many things people can do. There are many things.
But how is Chebukati's wife involved in all this? If at all the Chebukati did anything sinister, then that should be upon him. Why should the wife be dragged into the mess?
The sins of the fathers, complete. Caesar's wife must be beyond reproach.
Okay, so you're talking of Caesar's wife must be beyond reproach. And you're not, I thought you'd just come out and say, congratulations, my sister. There you have it.
She's a good lady. I wish she could get even bigger things.
But
that's being insensitive.
And you're concerned about the public perception now, definitely.
It's the wrong time to give somebody like that a job. But she doesn't need the job anyway.
And it's communicating the wrong thing to the people.
Correct.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was a show here that we were focusing on some of the actions that are being taken by our president herein. And we do hope that he'll actually live to the spirit upon which he was elected, to defend the rights of every Kenyan and protect them at all costs. Definitely herein giving every Kenyan an equal chance to serve. Well, do not fail to subscribe to this channel if at all you're watching us for the first time, and please stay tuned to some of our programs that will be coming up next year. Jeriel Kabiro is always here. Richard Mwenje is also here, as well as our latest guy in public opinion. You'll be there with Mundia Gitao therein. Ladies and gentlemen, many thanks to all those people who've made this production a success. Till we have this conversation again, have yourself a lovely day. My name is Evans Okinyi.